I think Frappuccino is a great example of Howard Schultz being 100% incorrect, wrong, and on the wrong side of the debate. This is my office within the foundation. This is an important piece of memorabilia.
This was one of your proudest days.
No question. So this was June 26th, 1992, when Starbucks went public. So here's the first stock certificate. Here's the interesting thing about this. Starbucks went public, and the market cap of Starbucks at the end of the day was $250 million. But the market cap of Starbucks today is $120 billion.
So somebody put $10,000 in 92.
It's probably a 40,000% increase.
How old were you there?
I had to be about 35.
Okay. If you could tell 35-year-old Howard, impart some sage advice, what would you say?
It's going to be a wild ride. Stay humble. I'm a big vinyl guy. So I've got a massive vinyl record collection.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, massive. Too many records.
How long have you been putting that connection?
Many years.
Okay.
And so, I wherever I go, I have a turntable. This was a very, very proud moment for me when I was awarded the Ripple of Hope RFK Award. And interestingly enough, President Biden has this in the Oval Office, and he and I received it on the same day.
And that means what to you?
I was so influenced by John F. Kennedy with my mother, but Bobby Kennedy became the primary external influence of someone I admired so much. One of the highlights of my life, without question.
Where do you do your best thinking?
I say in the morning. I'm up early than most people. People who work with me know they're going to get emails or text messages very early. The team that
texts too.
Yeah, the team that has worked with me the most knows that at 6 a.m. in the morning, we're probably going to have a conversation about something. This is 1971, which is the first store in the Pike Place Market. The original logo. Then in '87, when Il Giornale and Starbucks merged, my company, when we acquired Starbucks, the Il Giornale logo was green, and we kind of modernized her. And believe it or not, we had some protests growing about the fact that the siren's breasts were bare, and we had some issues that we had to cover it, believe it or not. And so that's the reason for the hair over the breasts. 1992, the siren became some kind of louder and more distinctive.
When you went public.
When we went public, exactly. And then the big change was when we realized in 2011 that the equity of the Starbucks name and brand and logo stood for much more than coffee, and the taking coffee out of it would give us the flexibility and the nimbleness to do other things while coffee was still central. This is a big moment. And so here's the evolution of the logo since 1971, which I think is interesting. And there on that wall is the first store, which remains today in its existing form. And if you go there in the Pike Place Market today, there'll be a line of at least 100 people waiting to get a piece of history and go in the store.
How often do you walk?
I'm in that store at least once every few weeks, and just to ground myself. It all starts here. I view this as the conscience of the company. This is the room where we are sampling coffee samples that we get from 30 producing countries around the world. We are roasting it in a sample roaster in there, and we're tasting these coffees almost every day of our life to decide which crop of coffee, which lot of coffee we are going to buy. We are doing the exact same thing as we've done for 50 plus years, and that is ensuring the highest quality coffee in the world.
You've obviously innovated, and there have been changes with the times, and a couple innovations that I think you were initially pretty opposed to is one, the Frappuccino, and two, the loyalty program.
I think Frappuccino is a great example of Howard Schultz being 100% incorrect, wrong, and on the wrong side of the debate. In the early stages of Starbucks, we've been so pure in terms of roasting coffee to perfection and also roasting it in a different way, darker than most other coffee companies. As the customer was getting younger and people were either trying coffee for the first time or wanting something else, they started blending iced coffee. And all of a sudden, it kind of started taking off. We started tasting it, and I, as a purist, said, why do we want to do this? We don't want to be a Frappuccino company, we're a coffee company. I also was afraid that people would be introduced to Frappuccino first and never quite get the essence of Starbucks. It turned out that Frappuccino became a multi-billion-dollar business for Starbucks. Not only selling it in our stores and have it being customizable, but then we put it in a bottle and did a joint venture with Pepsi that on its own became a billion-dollar business. So I was wrong, and it kind of taught me a great lesson. Truly, the customer was always right.
So I've heard you can be very pointed if you see somebody you know drinking a competitor's product.
Oh, that's true.
What will you say?
Well, if it's a good friend of mine, I just, don't bring that in my house. At the same time, people have a lot of choices to make, but if they're friends of mine, come on. There's Vivek.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
So actually, question for both of you,
Yeah.
Because you guys have worked together for a long time. What do you think has made the relationship work and been so successful
I
for
listen
so
to
long?
everything he says.
Oh, Colin.
I wish that were the case.
It's very rare in life do you get an opportunity to work so closely with somebody over a long period of time. You know each other so well, and you want the best for each other. You want the best for the company. And we've been on each other's side for almost 20 years.
What's an example of a healthy debate that the two of you had that ultimately led to a better outcome?
You know what life is like with Howard? It's constant debate. But he's the boss.
Yeah,
So-
right.